The Blade we all know and love is back, and this time he's back with a much more violent look and even more chat energy. I think I get why ladies like dangerous men when I look at Mortenax Blade, and welcome to my complete Mortenax Blade guide. We'll be going through everything you need to know to build and play him. Before we start, everything is here from the Creator Experience server. Also, do use the timestamps for your convenience. With that said, let's get into it. We'll start off with a summary. Mortenax Blade is a HP scaling character that provides massive damage increase debuff and defense reduction debuffs for your team. He can also dish out significant damage, especially via his own ultimate, while he's also equipped with a fairly consistent follow-up attack with his charge mechanic. His gameplay loop revolves around activating his enhanced form and deploying his zone by using his ultimate, which thereafter he allows for your whole team to inflict debuffs every time they attack. This is the exact function that allows Mortenax Blade to be the best ally for Acheron, pushing Acheron's ult charges extremely quickly and essentially turning Acheron into a top tier character again. Blade also has great synergy with someone like Ashvale, being equipped with follow-up attacks and benefiting from allies that attacks consistently to trigger his own follow-up attacks via his own charges. To describe him with a quick conclusion, he's a fairly versatile support that specifically pushes some teams to its limits like Acheron, and he can still be generally useful with just his damage increase and defense reduction. Now then, to understand him deeper, let's jump into his full kit. We'll start with the most important part about his kit, which will be his ultimate. Upon usage, Blade inflicts Balefire Bind on all enemies, which provides a massive 30% defense reduction and 50% damage received increase on the enemy. Blade will then consume 20% HP to deploy a zone, and enters the Infinite Fury state. You will notice a new icon appearing in the action bar right after he uses his ult, similar to how Firefly has it after her ultimate, and this is pretty much the same way. Blade will exit this enhanced state and end the zone once this new icon takes action. During this Infinite Fury state, Blade increases his own crit rate by 20% and crit damage by 60%. In this state, Blade also unlocks his skill, while also unlocking a new ultimate. This means you want to use Blade's first ultimate to get into this state, and then he can start using a more offensive skill and ultimate within this time. What's cool is that if Blade dies within this state, he'll be revived with half health while exiting the Infinite Fury state and ending the zone. Most oftentimes you won't be needing to use this though. Now, to understand more about his zone, we'll have to take a look at his talent. When this ult zone is active, all allies will be able to inflict a Balefire Bind debuff on the enemy with each of their attacks. This means the more your ally attacks, the more debuffs you land, the more ult charge for Acheron. Not only that, Blade will obtain 1 charge up to a maximum of 9 for every attack your ally does within this zone. When you reach 9 charges, Blade will consume them, regenerating 25 energy, which is pretty big, and instantly perform his skill as a follow-up attack. This is why Blade will benefit well if his allies attack a lot. Someone like Ashvale, Tribi, or Hyacinth are some examples that are great for this purpose. Based on his bonus ability as well, Blade actually has an increased chance of being attacked by enemies within this zone. He also decreases damage taken himself by 50% in the zone, while increasing healing received himself by 50%. This acts as a way that he can mitigate damage for the rest of your team. Pretty helpful if your team doesn't have too much of a good sustain. More importantly though, after being attacked, Blade will also inflict the Balefire Bind debuff on attacking targets and also gains him 1 charge. This combination means more debuff on enemies, more charges for Acheron, and more follow-up attacks from Blade himself. Now then, to take a look at Blade's skill. It does not consume skill points, but rather it consumes Blade's HP, then he deals damage to all enemies. What's interesting is you can only use Blade's skill during this ult state. It is otherwise completely inaccessible. Blade's enhanced ultimate is also simple, where he deals massive damage based on his own max HP to all enemies. This will be his hardest hitting move. Blade also has a basic, where he attacks one enemy and taunts it for 1 turn. Pretty interesting, but you can't taunt most bosses though. Blade also has 2 more bonus abilities that we haven't covered, which the first one allows Blade to accumulate up to 80 overflow energy. After Blade uses his ultimate, he will clear the overflow energy out and regenerate the same amount as energy. Not only that, when the battle starts or when the zone is dispelled, Blade can instantly regenerate up to 75% energy if he has below 75%. When energy is regenerated to max, Blade will dispel all debuffs on himself. This complete Blade's kit, where he will essentially have max energy most of the time if you control his overflow energy well. He's designed to permanently have his ult be online, which is why it's designed this way, so that your team can always benefit Blade with the zone being online, and the idea of Blade is very easy to play. The other bonus ability says that while the zone is active, allied targets will deal 50% increased damage. If there are other nihility path characters besides Mortenax Blade on the team, the ult damage dealt by allied targets increases by a massive 75%. If there isn't other nihility characters, Blade will additionally increase his own damage dealt by 75% instead. This bonus ability locks in Blade as the best ally for Acheron with that massive ult damage increase. His general damage increase also adds up to 100% just with his Spellfire Bind and with this bonus ability too, which is fairly good value. This makes him somewhat versatile for any teams if you want him to be, especially with how he also reduces defense. His technique is an AoE taunt with 90% damage taken increase, which is pretty neat. The taunt from his technique and basic, plus his increased chance of being attacked in his zone, can be crucial for protection, especially with high pressure, no sustained zero cycle clear setups. With all that said, Mortenax Blade looks like a character that is best fit for Acheron, allowing her to rack up insane numbers of ult charges by continually having the whole team land Spellfire Bind debuffs on enemies. He is also great in follow-up attack teams like when paired with Ashvale in order to maximize his own follow-up damage, especially by gaining charges quickly. You can use Blade with a nihility character, or even if you don't, he will still benefit your whole team with the general debuffs and defense reduction, while still being able to dish out good damage himself, making him a fairly versatile character. Moving up next, let's take a look at his builds. To start with his Lightcone, obviously his own is the best, and it's specifically with the insane 20 energy regeneration at the start of his turn, although it only triggers once each wave. This energy allows Blade to be able to get his ultimate quickly at the start of combat or the wave, making sure his zone is up as soon as possible with all the debuffs inflicted. If you're looking for alternatives, I do recommend the free before the tutorial mission starts Lightcone, which is in the same vein. It allows for massive energy regeneration to make sure Blade gets his ult as soon as possible with the least actions needed at the start. Plus, this Lightcone will provide a lot of energy for Blade consistently, allowing him to get more ult even during his enhanced state. If you're running a win set Blade that mainly is designed to support the team, this is a very helpful Lightcone, and it's still one of the most smooth and consistent one with the least room for mishaps. Outside of that though, you can consider Lightcones like Cypher's signature, though you must reach 170 speed, which is not easy, the classic resolution Lightcone for more defense reduction, or if you're running Blade as more of a main damage dealer, you can consider Acheron's signature, then Boundless Choreo or Good Night Sleep Well. It'll depend on what role does Blade play for your account. Now then, let's get into his relics and stats. For relic sets, you'll be looking for the 4-piece Divine Querying Masher Smith. It's a perfect set designed for Blade's own damage and even more damage increase for the allies. Now for alternative sets, it can be the 4-piece Longos Disciple or 4-piece Pioneer Diver of Dead Waters. The Pioneer set is only recommended if you're playing him in an Acheron team, where it's very easy to make sure the set is activated consistently. Another alternative set will be the 4-piece Wind set. This one is usually used to set up fast zero cycle clears, or you can also just use it generally. It's actually a very underrated set for Blade, because all the extra actions by spamming the ultimate will overall mean way more turns for a character like Blade, and that's always nice. As for planar ornament sets, you'll be mainly looking for the Bone Collection set, with alternatives being the Duran set or the Inert Salsoda set. Another alternative will be to pair 2-piece Von Walk with the 4-piece Wind set. These two sets comes as a pair, and it's the most popular speedy supportive setup. A lot of fast clears utilize this build. In terms of main stats, you'll be looking for crit rate for damage body, speed or HP percent boost depending on your speed tuning, fire damage or HP percent orb, and energy regen or HP percent robe. Now let's move on to the best teams. Mortenax Blade's best team is easily a team of Blade, Acheron, Tribi, and Hyacinth. You can replace Tribi for any suitable supports for Acheron, like Cypher, Jiaoqiu, or even Sparkle. Same for the healer slot too. This team is especially good because all the supportive characters attacks a lot as well. The more they attack, the more debuffs they inflict via Blade's zone. That will all count towards Acheron's ult charge, which means you'll drastically improve Acheron's ult consistency. Blade himself is also able to provide general damage increase and defense reduction. Not to mention, he'll specifically provide ult damage increase if another nihility character exists on the team, so that's pretty much designed for Acheron in mind. Because of the consistent attacks from this team, Blade also gains more charges, which means more follow-up attacks as a whole. It's basically the modern day Acheron team, and do expect this team to be able to perform at a high level even in version 4. The next best team for Blade will feature Blade, Ashvale, Tribi, and Hyacinth. This one will see Blade as more of a main damage dealer, or at least the dual damage dealer alongside Ashvale. Ashvale is able to provide massive crit damage buff for follow attacks, which Blade inflicts. Blade helps Ashvale with a massive damage increase and defense reduction. Ashvale and the rest of the team also attacks a bunch, so Blade gets charges a lot, allowing for more damage as a whole. It's a follow-up attack focused team, which Blade makes sense in. making this a pretty solid team option. Blade also has a bunch of alternative team sets options because, well, he's pretty generally usable. For instance, he can be played with a lot of the hunt characters like Archer, Sela, Facial, Moza, or even Dr. Ratio, all as a supportive character that helps with damage output in their team. This works as well since all of these hunt characters tend to attack a lot, which means that's a lot of charge for Blade, allowing him to attack more, and Blade himself will also provide the debuffs that helps out the hunt gang too. This is surprisingly versatile out of Blade. Are they going to be ideal teams though? Probably not, but they're definitely going to be functional. Finally, let's take a look at his Eidolons. Blade is actually fully functional at E0S0 with just a 4-star alternative Lightcone, so it's more than valid to just pull one copy of him and save the rest for the impending collab characters. But in any case, to look at E1, it decreases all enemies all-type respawn by 20%, and it extends how long you can be in your ult state. It's a solid Eidolon, but I do recommend shooting for E2 if you're considering pulling dupes anyway. The E2 states that it'll consider ally characters' ultimate as having launched a follow-up attack, and it will increase the follow-up attack damage by 75%, which is a lot. Not only that, Blade's charge limit decreases to 7, so you get more follow-ups now. When paired with E1, this Eidolon significantly increases the whole team's damage output and allows for permanent available ult since Blade will gain energy just by maxing his charges, and he will be maxing them a lot more. The most important part of Blade treating allies' ult as follow-up attack also means that he can now truly be a universal support, being able to help even an Evanescence team, for example, by significantly increasing her damage output on her ultimate, whereby Blade will treat it as a follow-up attack. Now, if you're a Blade fan, E2 is the wave. E4 though is a simple damage dealt increase for allies, and E6 makes Blade a full-fledged main DPS. With this Eidolon, he will gain a charge when he takes damage or consumes HP. He also increases the damage multiplier of his ultimate by 1.5 times the original, so yep, expect him to start dealing damage a lot. I personally would stop at E2 if you're just trying to min-max his supportive abilities for the whole team, while still being fairly good at increasing his own damage. E0S0 works fine for most of us. And that'll be all for my Mortenax Blade guide. I hope I'm able to help you out. I'll be posting a lot of Mortenax Blade showcases on the channel as well, so do follow along if you're up for that. It's actually one of the funnest characters out there with a lot of old characters being able to be used with him. And that'll be all for now. Hope you guys enjoyed, and take care.